So the next one we'll do, Willie Desmond from Strategic Telemetry will present on what is redistricting.
This is the fifth, I believe, in a series of 17 first-round meetings that are designed to collect the public's input about what considerations they would like the Commission to take into account as they draw the maps. Once the first draft map has been created, there will be a 30-day public review period and then another round of public meetings all around the state. So if you're watching at home and you haven't had the opportunity to come here today, please try to come to another one of the meetings, either later in this first round or coming up in the next round after the draft map has been put out. This will be a short presentation discussing the redistricting process here in Arizona, why we have to redistrict, and how you can submit your input to the Commission. Is it possible to get the PowerPoint up on the, there we go. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, is that better? Apologize. The first thing we'll be covering is why do we have a redistricting commission? What is redistricting? What is the difference between reapportionment and redistricting? Why do we have to redistrict? What are the guidelines that need to be followed when drawing new districts? What are the steps in the redistricting process? And how can public input be submitted to the AIRC? All right, first, why do we have a redistricting commission? This is the second time that the Arizona's districts will be redrawn by the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission. The commission was created in 2000 when the voters of Arizona approved Proposition 106, which created the commission and established a process and criteria for drawing new district lines. The commission is made up of 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and an independent chair elected by the other commissioners. The 5th member shall not be registered with any party already represented on the commission. The 2011 AIRC members are Vice Chairman Scott Freeman, Vice Chairman Jose Herrera, who's here tonight, Chairwoman Colleen Mathis, Commissioner Linda McNulty, who's also here tonight, and Commissioner Richard Sturtz. Okay, what is redistricting? Simply put, redistricting is the process of redrawing congressional and legislative district lines. The difference between redistricting and reapportionment, while it is slight, there is a technical difference. Reapportionment is the process of allocating congressional districts among the various states based on changes in population. Because of population growth over the past decade, Arizona was allocated an additional congressional district after the 2010 census. Arizona will, in 2012, have a 9th congressional district from the 8 that they used to have. And again, redistricting is the process of establishing the new lines based off of that new reapportionment. All right, why do we have to redistrict? Well, first of all, because Arizona gained this 9th congressional district, lines would have to be drawn to add it. However, even if Arizona had not gained this congressional district, we would have to redraw the lines to account for shifts in population. The concept of one person, one vote dictates that there should be as close to the same number of people per district as possible. And again, because the rate of population growth is different in different areas, the existing districts now have wildly different populations. All right, what guidelines need to be followed when drawing new districts? The first one is that they must comply with the U.S. Constitution and the Voting Rights Act. Next, they must have equal population. These first 2 criteria are federally mandated, and any plan that takes effect would have to meet these 2 criteria. Next, Proposition 106 established some more guidelines. They must be compact and contiguous. They must respect communities of interest. They must use visible geographic features, cities, towns, county boundaries, and undivided census tracts. Finally, they must create competitive districts where there is no significant detriment to other goals. Okay. Create competitive districts where there's no significant detriment to other goals. Oh, that is the technical language, and as the technical that is the legal language, and as the technical consultant, I'm not in a position to interpret that. That's up to the commissioners and the attorneys to establish exactly what that would be.
Well, I can respond a bit. I'm the lawyer for the commission, and that's according to that's the language of our state constitution. And then as part of the process, the 5 commissioners will make the decisions in terms of when they go through the criteria to determine how best to accomplish the goals of the Constitution. So it's a balancing act based on those constitutional criteria that Willie mentioned. And I guess we should go ahead and get through the presentation and then focus on, because tonight is really focused on an overview of redistricting and then hearing from the public, hearing from you all in terms of what you'd like to see in terms of the maps in the redistricting process.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the interruption. Again, the steps in the redistricting process here in Arizona. This is the first step. It's not listed here, but soliciting public input for criteria to be used in drawing the new maps is really the first step. After that, it's required that we start with a grid map. You can think of a grid map as simply the most checkerboard-looking map possible. In some states, you start with previous plans. However, in Arizona, this is not the case. Proposition 106 specifically states that you cannot start with the previous plan. You need to start with a grid map. The commencement of the mapping process for both the congressional and legislative districts shall be the creation of equal population in a grid-like pattern across the state. This initial grid map will likely only meet criteria B and C, which are equal population and compact and contiguous districts. Once it's been established, the grid map is altered to meet the other criteria, the first of which is the Voting Rights Act. Arizona's congressional and legislative districts must receive preclearance or approval from the Department of Justice or a federal court under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act before they can take effect. To get preclearance, Arizona must demonstrate that the new districts do not discriminate against minority voters in purpose or effect, which means there can be no intentional or accidental discrimination. Under Section 5, Arizona's redistricting plans cannot be retrogressive. The plans cannot weaken or reduce minority voters' rights. Finally, the presence of discrimination can be determined by analyzing population data and election results. After the map is adjusted to meet the Voting Rights Act, it's adjusted to ensure equal population again, that the districts are compact and contiguous, and that they respect communities of interest. Again, one of the main goals of these meetings is to solicit public input about communities of interest. There are forms available here at these hearings or on the AARC website that can be used to define an area that you feel should be considered a community of interest. Again, if you're here tonight and you feel like speaking, I believe it's a white sheet tonight, but you can fill out a sheet to make your comments known. They will be on the record, but anything you submit in writing will also be on the record. If you feel like submitting input tonight but don't feel like speaking, please fill out one of the blue sheets. And also, if you have any other input that you would like to give the commission, if you have maps that you've already drawn or you've written out boundaries that you want considered, you can submit those to us here tonight or on the website. If you do, we ask that if you're comfortable, you put your name and contact information on them so that we can contact you if we have any questions about the criteria that you've outlined. And then once the communities of interest are factored in, we go to use visible geographic features, county boundaries, cities and towns, and census tracts. Luckily, this census geography often follows visible features. And lastly, the map is adjusted to create competitive districts where no significant detriment to other goals. All right, the ARC wants your input. If you have something you'd like to say, again, please fill out one of the forms and speak at a meeting. Things that that good examples of things you might want to speak on are the criteria being considered, communities of interest, or anything else you'd like the commission to consider during this redistricting process. You can also submit things on our website, which is www.azredistricting.org, or call 602-542-5221 and speak with someone at the ARC office about your concerns or your communities of interest. So thank you very much for allowing us to come here tonight and hear your input, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.